Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from Sweden, and welcome to this month's live stream together with Joel Log on the topic How to Become Irreplaceable in Talent Acquisition 2023. Before I let you introduce yourself, Joel, just let us know if you can hear us. We want to make sure everyone's have tuned in right. Please let us know if you can see us, and also let us know where you're tuning in from and what questions you have for Joel. Make sure to comment summary down below in the comment section to get your hands on the full summary with all key takeaways from today's inspirational session. And for anyone who's new to my live stream, my name is Sarah. I'm a part of Adway, and we do automated social recruitment marketing to enable a 24/7 storytelling for you to attract and engage and convert your most desired candidates, fully automated while leaving the bias out. Well, enough about me, Joel. I'm a huge fan. I've followed you for years. I follow you on all the social media channels. You always pop up into my TikTok. Can you please give us the background, the context in how you keep shaping talent acquisition and what you do for recruiters all over the world?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And look, your intro, by the way, I feel like I need to get whoever did your intro. If you did it yourself, that's amazing. But I have a feeling
it's my better half, Henry himself.
All right. Well, Henry needs to design mine as well, because I mean, that was fantastic.
Make it happen.
And I followed you for a long time too. We have obviously interacted a lot online, and so excited to be here. My background, I started in the agency recruitment world in 2015. I worked for an hourly RPO. They were actually still around, grown a ton over the last 10 years or so. And so, as agency goes, I'd consider what we did more of a partnership, right? Like we would integrate into these internal teams. But one of the things that I noticed super early on in my career in recruitment was we just constantly doing outbound. Like it's just always outbound, emails, sourcing, emails. And I think, to me, I'm not a huge fan of cold calling and cold outreach. I'm not a fan of getting those types of messages. I'm not a fan of getting those types of calls. And so I started to see a trend in 2019. So about 4 or 5 years into my career. And I started to hear and just notice that people were talking about this idea of content. And it was a lot on LinkedIn. I mean, that was really the only social media platform I was on. Yeah. And so in 2019, I said, you know what? I'm seeing the content that's on LinkedIn, and I don't really see any reason why I couldn't do the same thing, especially with these written posts, some of the video. So I started creating content. And really, since that point, I think, obviously, I love recruitment. I love the idea of, helping people find what they're passionate about, helping companies find people. I love that matchmaking side to it. But equally, I've become really, really, I don't want to say obsessed, because that might be too strong a word, but just obsessed with how to connect with people digitally, and how to be known in a space, and how you can leverage your brand to obviously get inbound. I mean, that's the holy grail, right? Like having people come to you. But I've noticed that it helps with every aspect. It helps with networking, helps with outbound, it helps with getting opportunities like this. So now I've transitioned, really from hands-on recruitment to working with teams to say, how can we individually and as a team start to think and leverage social media as recruiters? So I'm happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you, such a cool guest. And I've been wanting this for years, and we're finally here, Joel. And I think we have to do a lot of cool things together. Adway is also coming to the US, so we're coming for you.
There we go. I love it.
There we go. And hey guys, in this exclusive live event, we will delve into the secrets of Joel's success and explore the key strategies that have made you one of the top names in recruitment globally, Joel. So to start off, just setting the scene, what would you say, coming from your end, is the top priorities in TA for this and the coming year in terms of, becoming irreplaceable in talent acquisition? What would you prioritize?
Look, I think the number one priority right now is, and it's been said probably a million times, it's figuring out how, as teams, to leverage the new technologies that are coming into our industry. not just with sourcing, but I just think about all of the AI tools, all of the new technology that's out. You've got to get a grasp of that. You got to understand, how can we get more done with less?
Yes.
Because budgets are tight. So I think that's number one. And then number two, and I'm obviously a little bit biased here, but branding and marketing, because with all of these new technologies comes a lot more noise. So when it's easier to message people, when it's easier to do email sequences, when it's easier to do all of this stuff, it then creates a whole new problem, right? Like, how do you stand out against your competition? How do you become recognizable? So those are the two big priorities. And then if I was to add one other bonus one, I think candidate experience is becoming more and more important. And really because of things like social media and online reputation.
Absolutely.
Candidate experience, it's I think gonna emerge as an actual priority for businesses, and they're gonna really focus on that.
100%. And I mean, given your background, consistently posting, since what year did you start producing content?
2019. So it's only been 4 years, which isn't. Look back at that. That's not that much time.
That's actually the same time we started. That's cool.
There we go.
So we started out of small Sweden. You started out of Wisconsin, right? And look where we are, building the community.
That's right. Which is amazing, right? It's like we globally have been able to connect digitally, and now this is happening, which I just sometimes I sit back and go, that's pretty legendary.
Yeah, so I can imagine, given where you're at today, you don't really have to sell yourself. You don't really have to explain your value props. Like, people know, they follow you. And I love the tagline of, I'm the guy behind the content your recruiting team shares.
Yeah, look, I still have to, I tell this all the time. Look, I think what having a strong brand will do is it'll get you a seat in front of the right people easier. But regardless of getting the seat, you still need to be able to sell the value. And believe it or not, like I still have to sell people on the power of brand.
Sell, but coming back to the, like, you're not in a war for talent, you're in a war for attention.
100%.
So again, you have the microphone, right? You have the platform, you're the voice, you follow. But obviously still there's like services to be sold. But I mean, if you're like, again, the big community we have with us today, if you're in TA or recruitment and you've been inspired by Joel, I mean, there's so many people asking what is your secret to becoming this name, to becoming the one that has the attention from the crowd, to build your inbound machine and to leverage social media? Let's pick all your brain here, Joel. Let's go.
I think number one, consistency, and you get consistency by making it a priority. And look, I have coached teams for years. And immediately when we get done with whatever training schedule or whatever workshop, there's excitement and there's vision, and everybody's going, yes, I can do it. And then it falls down the priority list really quick. Yeah. Because one of the things that I've noticed within recruitment, and same with sales in a lot of ways, but I'd say definitely with recruitment, we're used to instant gratification. And unfortunately, with building a brand, just like a lot of things in life, you have to be okay with delayed gratification and understand that it's almost like a farming technique. Like, you're sowing a lot of seeds. Absolutely. And you've got to keep watering it. If you don't do that, you're not going to yield anything. And unfortunately, too many people give up too quickly. Yep. And look, you're not competing against other companies for attention. You're not competing against other personal branders. You're competing with the news, with the movies, with newspapers, attention, with people's kids. Exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. So moving into like how to become irreplaceable today as a TE professional or a recruiter, like what's your scope here? We're talking becoming the strategist you always wanted. We're talking, again, not being replaced by tech, by leveraging tech, and not being, you don't have to be tech, an AI engineer, but you have to be tech comfortable or tech curious. So how would you build your business case to keep being relevant in TA today?
Look, I think being a student and constantly learning is massive, and understanding your business. So they both go hand in hand. So I think from an industry perspective, if you suddenly become somebody who really understands the trends of your industry, you're adding value to the business you're in. If you understand your business, then you're not just somebody who's filling seats, you're somebody who's consulting, hiring leaders. And I think because of the nature of how most people get into recruitment, like a lot of us fall into recruitment, or we get labeled as, hey, you're good with people.
Yeah.
And being a people person, knowing how to relate to people is obviously huge, right? We're in the people business. But I think there's a fundamental lack of what business are we actually serving? And do I understand my business? Do I understand my team rather than just understanding what a job description is? And the way that you become replaceable is you become somebody that people go to look for help, right? How do we brand better? How do we reach people better? What are the salaries? What's going on in our market? What's the new technology? And the way that you become someone like that is you take the time, you research, and you know, it's you become a student and you learn. And again, talk to a lot of people. This isn't easy.
No.
And we all know recruitment isn't easy. But just like content, you've got to be consistently looking out there. Otherwise, what will happen is other people who are up to date with technology and know how to leverage it and know how to get more done, they are the ones who ultimately are going to replace you. And it's not all doom and gloom, though, because there's a lot of amazing tools out there.
Definitely.
But you have to set your sights.
Yeah, but you have to be like demo curious. It's in your role to know what's happening in the market, what is coming, and constantly, evaluate the full chain from attract to apply, right? Where
100%.
can I leverage the best possible technology? And obviously, we're big fans of social media, right? We do automated social marketing. And what we see is definitely how user aggregated content and authentic content and content coming directly from your peers is what's going to make or break your strategy. So basically what we have is the platform, the tools, the AIs behind the distribution, the prediction of your budget and multi-channel approach, getting all the campaigns out fully automated. But then to your point, how do we make sure that we actually produce the content that the audience cares about? And what I believe that you leverage the most is actually humor.
Look, humor is massive, but where humor came from, I mean, I started leveraging humor with my content about 2 years ago now. And it came from I was already posting a ton of content. I think I had 60,000 followers on LinkedIn, which it's nothing. It's a lot of people, a big audience. But
definitely,
I just noticed I was like, I'm not getting in front of the business leaders that are making the decisions, and it suddenly dawned on me a great way to get in front of the recruitment leaders that don't engage on social media, that don't like stuff, that are kind of in the background. The lurkers, right? That's what I want. So I go, how can I get in front of them? And I thought, well, if I can get recruiters on their team to share my content and like my content, and 10 people on their team like it, I can get on their radar. So it dawned on me, and I thought, what is the type of content that just does well in the recruitment space? And I just noticed that a lot of the posts that do well, they have a little bit of sarcasm in there, a little bit of tongue in cheek, and most of all, it's relatable to the job. And so I then started to do humor. So that was 2 years into my journey. And the reason I tell that story is because you need to think, what do my candidates relate to? Maybe it's humor.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's, video. Like if you're manufacturing, what would manufacturing people care about? And the way that you do this is you just put yourself in their seat, or you do research. What is the other content?
You go to your teams, like your current team.
Go to your teams. Exactly.
Go workshop with them. It's easy. It's like, it shouldn't be too produced. It shouldn't be too designed. It should be authentic, as you do. Quick 30 seconds, 15 seconds, multi-channel. Not only put all your effort into the one platform, the holy grail LinkedIn, but basically make sure it's a part of a big multi-channel strategy where you obviously leverage TikTok organically. And if you then put in the level of sponsoring, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I do TikTok, and then I have a tool that puts it across to Snapchat, to Pinterest, to Instagram, to Facebook, to YouTube, to Pinterest. I say Pinterest. Yeah. So one video goes 8 places, right? So it's just, and that's just, I implemented that about 4 months ago, and since doing that, I've added 1.5 million views a month. And the people are like, well, what's the ROI of that? I'm like, I don't know what the ROI is, but it didn't really cost anything. It's a tool that just does it automatically. Be smart, right?
I mean, if you would stop, you'd see the true cost, basically. So it's about getting it out there, right? And I think
Exactly.
to your point, what I really like is, like, again, A/B testing and speaking to your crowd in influencer marketing, for instance. The new strategy is now to like groom or like front the friends of the influencers, because if their friends thinks your product or your messaging is really cool, the actual big name will follow immediately, which is also a really cool way. So you have to know what really talks to your crowd, and it has to be out of just that specific role. It has to be around their lifestyle, recognition, what life they could picture themselves in. It has to be around real, honest quotes. It could be anything, but basically make sure you're speaking the things their friends are talking about.
Exactly. And understanding the audience. And then the last thing I'll say is I think a lot of people think a lot in the front end of, am I saying the right thing, or what if I say the wrong thing? And I think that can just hold you back. And part of this is you do need to just start doing things, and then understand that the more you do something, the better you get. So I just think about cold calling in recruitment. You never tell somebody, if you think back to whenever it was that cold calling started, or when some of you started in recruitment, you never tell somebody, like after 1 week of cold calling, most people would not say like, "Oh, you need to stop." It's always like, "No, you got to keep going."
Yeah.
And yet we kind of don't see that with content. Like, people are very quick to give up on it. And what I found is I've never had anybody come up to me and say, it was that one post that really spoke to me. Most people are just like, "I know who you are, and I've seen your stuff, and like, yeah, I like it."
You can't really tell where, because you are multi-platform active, and you do, several consistent drops every week.
100%.
But hey, one question. There was a question around what tool you used for restreaming.
Yes, it's a tool called Repurpose.io.
Yeah. And do you keep the logo from TikTok, or do you originally create somewhere else?
No. So what I do is, my workflow is I take every video that I've created on TikTok, which in the last year is 2,400, and it goes into a Google Drive because I was afraid of TikTok getting banned. And then you create different workflows. So like I said, I go to Snapchat Spotlight, I go to Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, all of those platforms. And the reason I do that is because every single platform has been influenced by TikTok. And so that's why when I talk about TikTok, I usually just talk about short form video, because I know TikTok.
15 seconds.
Short form video, like understanding how to do that, I think it's going to be crucial. And I'm speaking to people who, if you think about where recruiting is going to be 5-10 years from now, and where social media is going to be, video, it's like, if you're not taking video seriously, whether you're in marketing, sales, recruitment, business in general, you've really got to look around, because that's what people like. My mom watches Instagram Reels, like my grandma watches, everybody watches, these short form videos. So I think just understanding how to leverage it in recruitment is huge.
So say you're a tea professional now watching this live, you want to start building your personal brand, you want to become this go-to person in your field, you want to be the number one voice as usual. Where would you start? I mean, coming from sketching down all the common issues, the common mistakes happening, the sarcastic parts, like from there into constantly building week after week your table of content, like how would you go about?
I think number one, you've got to figure out, I mean, like you said, you've got to research who are people who are already creating the content, because that's going to give you a framework of what works and what people are interested in. And I'm not saying copy and steal their stuff. I'm saying be inspired and think about, how can I kind of make this my own? So like, you want to add your own angle to it, because you don't want to just do something that someone else is doing, right? But look at who are the voices and what's the content. And then, like you said, start listing out, and like when you're in conversations, this is how any question you have, that is a foundation for content. So if somebody asks me, if I get 5 people in a week, go, how many hashtags do I need to use? Or, what's your secret to being on every platform? And I hear those questions multiple times. I know that that's a great piece of content, right? So paying attention to questions. And then I think, again, not just relying on yourself, like you leverage other content that's out there. Like I'm big on TikTok with sharing news, like talking about the news, and just putting my own spin on it and my own perspective, and understanding. I would say on LinkedIn, most of the people you're connected to are people that you've recruited with, you've worked with, they're people you know. So you have to, when you're posting, think about, I'm talking to people I know, like, and they're not going to really, like, if you literally just share articles, but you don't put your point of view,
right,
it's not going to resonate. So starting from that point, and I think just having a plan, right? If you, I think initially, if you don't have a plan for what you're going to post each day or 3 times a week, you won't stick to it. And eventually you get to a point where you don't really need as strong of a plan. It just becomes
and you just
natural.
start repurposing everything as well. Because I mean,
100%.
there's just so many topics, right? So there's like different spins to it. But I'm curious, Joel, what are the most common blockers you stumble across, like the thresholds where people, there could be a lot of angles around, I don't want to look cringe. How would I ever? What is this actually going to mean? Those typical blockers, how do you address them?
It's such a great question. Look, I literally think, like, if everybody, like, if I'm thinking this way, everybody else is thinking this way, right? So what I think about is, how do I separate myself from everybody else? So I'm just huge on looking around and going, okay, nobody else is doing this, I'm going to do it. I'll tell you a big one right now. Everybody, like, text posts are just way too easy to do. I just want to say it, like, with ChatGPT, it's way easier. So everybody is defaulting to text right now, and selfies. Okay, those are like the big two. Let me tell you, not enough people are doing video, and I think that's an opportunity because of exactly what you said. Like, so if you're feeling that way, I don't know another way to get out of it other than you have to be bold. You have to disconnect, and you ultimately, on like a platform like LinkedIn, again, you're speaking to people you know. Most people are supportive, right? And great thing about LinkedIn is it's got people's faces and their businesses, so they're a lot less likely to post something negative.
Less trolls,
go to Snapchat. You should go to look. I get blasted on there, but I also think, again, you got to think about, what do I care more about?
Exactly.
Adding value, creating a brand that people recognize, or 1 or 2 people that ultimately it only reflects poorly on them if they're thinking that way, and they're looking at you and going, well, that guy's an idiot. But really, when people say things like that, it's usually coming from a place of their own insecurities as well. So
absolutely. And I think that's a good plug. What I also really appreciate with you, Jill, and what I've been following for quite some time is that, well, personally, and with my team, I always state that I think we should spend just as much time engaging in our community's content before producing our own, because there's so many great discussions going on. And also 100%. We want to celebrate the creators already doing great stuff before, like, being, believing that you can just come in, post, and leave, right? And I've seen you spend a lot of time into that as well. Like, you drop useful comments, you engage with your peers, you collab with all the people, like the other names in TA. Is that a strategy, or is that just, common sense?
Yeah, look, I think, again, like, creating content's not in a vacuum by itself. Like, this isn't just a thing that you do unless you want to be like some sort of entertainer or you want to be famous, which is totally fine if that's the goal. But really, we got to switch this idea of, like, what is what is content, what is social media, and really it's a way of digitally connecting with people. But if it doesn't lead to real life relationships, if it doesn't lead to real relationships, then in my mind, for recruitment's sake, it is pointless. So the reason I leave comments is because, look, I could create all the content in the world and that's great, but supporting other people, it's so invaluable. Like, when people see your name supporting, that does not backfire. That's how you build these relationships.
True.
And then also, I'm a big fan of, like, people who have followed me, particularly on LinkedIn, they will see the comments that I like and I comment on. So it's my job as a creator, as somebody who is, actively out there, to leave those insightful comments or leave comments, so my audience gets on the new content as well. So you're curating with comments just as much as you're creating with your own posts.
Quote.
And I also think that, a lot of times, like, I left a comment yesterday. Somebody was saying, a recruiter was saying that they were getting frustrated that they were in interviews, and other recruiters were asking them like to explain, like, laid off, or like why they were laid off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, it's 2023. Like, have you been paying attention? So I left like a quote saying, I'm a recruiter. You know, as soon as there's no hiring, I get thrown out into the trash, like yesterday's takeaway or lunch or whatever. And that comment started getting likes. So I took that comment and I put it on Twitter, because again, it's like this idea of everything is content, comments are content. So I don't know. I'll just add one more thing onto this. Again, supporting other people and building relationships. That's what this is about. I get good vanity views and all that sort of stuff in the vanity metrics, and that's important for what I do, right? Like I'm selling content, I'm selling training. Those things do not matter if your goal is to recruit and build relationships. I'd much rather see somebody be invested in commenting and DMing and building those relationships than just building a platform that leads to nothing and just views.
No. That's just a one-way street. Like, again, building the community, building the inbound, you have to go back and talk to your crowd, actually. And I too try to invest my time doing that. And I've felt and I've seen that is actually where we're growing, because we do care about.
Well, you do live events. So like, if I could do live events, like I would do them. No one wants to come into my little home office in Wisconsin, but like 2024, one of my major goals is to go to more in-person and live events.
Nice. We should. We have Spill the TA, right? It's an after-work series in London. Spill the TA is coming to the US. You and I need to keep building Spill the TA in the US. Wow.
I would love that.
We'll have the DJ, the cool music, the community, the crowd, the content production. Oh my gosh.
There's no doubt you will do it amazing, because I just know everything you do is top notch.
Right back at you.
But again, it's this idea of, hey, I meet somebody, and this is what content is. And this works if you're multi-level marketing on Instagram selling essential oils. This is how it works. You make a connection in real life with someone offline.
True.
And then you nurture them with content. So a month from now, they're like, yeah, I'm still kind of thinking about the good experience I had with you. Now I'm nurturing. So the way this works in recruitment is I reach out, hey, I got a job for you. Hey, not interested right now, right? That happens all the time. It's 90% plus of our candidates.
Yeah.
Then you use your content to just stay top of mind. And what happens is they either come back to you in 6 months and go, you know what, I'm actually interested. I've seen your stuff. It sounds like you got some cool stuff going on. Or when you follow up with them as part of your outbound workflow, they respond because you're top of mind. It's what content is. It's just a nurturing seeds, but you can't do that without actually having a real relationship. So like the online stuff, people who are just obsessed with online and text messages and all this other stuff, it's not going to help you build something that's real and like actually connects with people unless you're doing the things you're doing, which is meeting people offline, right? Meeting them where they're at and caring.
Yeah, the full circle. I really, really appreciate that. And hey, people, keep commenting summary in the comment section if you would like the full summary with all the key takeaways. We're about to wrap up. This has been amazing. Joel, you're a legend. Can we perhaps end with your two main takeaways? Again, if there's anything you should take with you from this session, what would that be?
Look, number one, be that student, keep learning, keep growing your skills, right? If there's things you're interested in, delve into that. Be that person that's always learning and upskilling, because there's a lot of opportunity right now. And then number two, start, like you said, start simply with these comments. Like I would love for you guys, like if you spend 20, 30 minutes a day, look at it as BD. I'm commenting and building relationships.
Nice.
That'd be my top two takeaways.
Nice. Good ones. And hey, Joel, we had over 2,400 signups for this show.
Amazing.
So, I mean, how about breaking a new record soon?
Let's go. I'm up for it. I say what would be sick, right, is whatever we meet in the US, we get like studio and we do it like live.
Wow. Yeah.
Live, you know, like an audience. I would be totally down for that. We need
Definitely.
You've inspired me to up the game.
As long as you bring me, perhaps Chad and Cheese, all of the guys, we'd have a blast. We gotta do it.
Crew.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I've heard I have a personality bigger than the US, so let's see if that works.
I love that.
Larger than life. But hey, Joel, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. And everyone, make sure you connect, reach out, and engage with every piece of content that Joel makes on a daily basis.
Thanks, guys.
Stay safe, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. See you soon.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.